Hello, hi, hello, yalla. It is me, it is I. Small Town Didi or on the internet. Thank you so much for coming back. We are back on the internet to talk about the Real Housewives of Cape Town. Please do like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let your people know about your girl. I'm so glad you all came back to sit with me so we could have this chat. Tato is the show. Tato's giving us a show. I don't even think it's on. This is the most authentic. I don't even think you can produce her. I don't even think you can coach her. She's just so unself-aware, or whatever the term is. But there's no self-awareness of whatsoever. She's go, 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 go. She's vile. She's still my faves. Don't get me fucked up now. She makes for amazing. I mean, she reminds me of the early seasons of Real Housewives of Atlanta. Everybody was unhinged off the cuff. You know, before you start to realize that you're in the public eye and you need to manicure your image. This woman has a wine brand out and she is full on unhinged. The fuck done, okay? Like, full on tornado. And I am grateful for her because clearly, up until this moment, the producers were scared. What do you mean, Didi? Up until this moment, they've realized that they have enough footage for the first part of a season. A season can be what? The local ones they're not, like, Atlanta used to go up to like 18 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Or even 20 with the reunions, like the 3-part ones. Or whatever the issue is. But with the local ones, I think we managed to get a little over 10 into the early teens. We could say we're halfway through the season. They could drop a midway trailer. So at this point, they've noticed that, you know what? This franchise, Cape Town, is not having that thing we want. And you see that because they get scared. They get Loveline to switch out the friend of the show, that boring ass doctor, the one that gave her the drip that first episode. She keeps bringing her around, but she doesn't have that thing. She doesn't like merge out with the group. So they add Lou. And they actually add Lou as a full-time housewife because you see her in the intro. This is people scrambling. This is people trying to be like, but they didn't have to do that. They could have just seen Tato for the gem she is. Like, I've been seeing my girl. Like, ugh. Let's get into it. We see Camilla at her home. She's decked out in what I would say is 1950s inspired fashions. Kind of, is it a Stepford housewife? Like is it an A-line skirt that goes all the way out and it's like it's got, what is it, like stiffening under to keep it holding its shape, and it cinches in at the waist and stuff, and she's got a hat to go with it. So it is giving all the vintage feels. And the first person to arrive, they're going on that trip to Grayson that we spoke about in the last episode. I have a video on that. It's the last video I posted before I post this one, I think. We see Tato arrives first. I love Tato's dress. Love that bow. I don't care for the hat that she has on. That like really, really bright pink. It throws me off. I didn't like it. I wish she would have stuck to the blues because she did go with the blue for the shoes. So just running with the blue theme would have been nice. The second person to arrive is Rushda. I am actually not certain if Camilla did emphasize that they need to keep within the vintage theme of the trip because they are going to Grayson. By the way, one of my friends actually did go there. She's out there in the Western Cape full-time, and she went out there for her birthday weekend this year, and she watched my last video. She's like, it's exactly like you said, like it's all the colonial vibes, and everybody's like, oh, so beautiful, just oh my god, you weren't allowed to sit here though. Nobody says that. Anyway, it's that vibe. Tato Rushda arrives decked out in labels. She's wearing a Dolce & Gabbana basic tee, like a basic white t-shirt, but you gotta know that it's Dolce & Gabbana, and a Louis V belt, and nothing about her is saying vintage, but it's okay, girl, you do you, hun. And then Rixie arrives next. She's doing what I gather she was going for that Chanel vibe, that, like, you know, and then she had like that Jimmy Choo shoe that everybody loves. I think Hailey Bieber got married in these. A white pair though. They've got that bow in the front and a bow at the back on the other foot. And then that was, you know, that was a nice try. The length was wrong. I feel like if she had had that dress at a longer length, it would have sold her being from a certain time period. But otherwise it was just like, oh, okay girl, you here, hey girl. Tato asks for the loo right before Rishta arrives. She locks herself in the loo, and the butler has to help her out. So as Camilla is standing out with now Rishta and Ruxie, who've arrived since Tato went missing, and Camilla's all like, why she need to wee that long? Like, for fucking what? Like, nobody wees it. Tato comes, she's like, I locked myself in. And they all have a nice, you know, a little kiki about it. Bev arrives next. She's also in brands. Bev loves a good brand. She's wearing that fucking hat she's been wearing the past 10 episodes. We're only 6 episodes in. And she has like a Louis Vuitton bag as well. And obviously a tight dress, because that's our girl Bev. You have to know that she's in the gym, you know, working out. And then Barkeman, Ruxie and Tato go, like, veer off from everybody, go off into this woman's yard and start having a chat. And then when Tato arrived, Camilla did say, no, you're not getting a tour of the home, you're gonna go to the loo. I'll have my house staff assist you. I forget what the butler's name is because she uses his name. And you're not gonna get to see the rest of the house. I feel like earlier on, when the chatter started going on about what Loveline had said about this woman's home, because Loveline is simple. I'm sorry. Loveline is just, she's simple. She's a simpleton. She likes, she's simple. So she's not gonna have an appreciation for anything that's different from what she's about. I mean, this is a person who talks about holy water. So you just draw your conclusions. Like, whatever, I find her simple. I could take her or leave her. It's like gum once it doesn't have the sugar. It's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? But anyway, what she said about her home, I feel like the longer she sat with it, it kind of festered. Like, she's now at a time, she feels she's offended. At first she could blow it off like, you know, yeah, I have an acquired taste, my antiques aren't to everybody says. But the longer she sits in and all the chatter and all the skinnering and people trying to invite themselves into her home to really make a mockery of her, I think it's starting to get to her a little bit. So she's feeling very guarded. You know, she doesn't want people into her sanctuary. That is a home she shares with her significant other and her children, and she's proud of her home. So I understand what this is about. You will see as we go on. And then these two go off into another wing of like the house. Tato and Barkemango, Ruxie. And Ruxie is a non-factor that is essential. I don't know how to explain that. She's not a shit starter, but she'll stir it. Like, she'll finish it. So she's necessary. She's the type of person who is not gonna let you get away with shit, but she's not. So she's necessary. Like, you may think she's boring, but like, she's necessary. She anchors the show somehow. Not anchors, but you know, she adds to it somehow. You have to squint a little bit to see it. Anyway, they go into the house by a different entrance. I want to understand if it's an issue of how they chose to edit this, because Camilla then is like, where did these people go? Then they're like, oh, they walked that way of the garden. She goes that way, she gets there. The conversation Tato and Ruxie are having, they clearly are trying to invade this woman's privacy. But when she gets there, they play it off and they stick to their guns about how they were just trying, like Tato was just trying to show her to the loo. Later on in the scene, in the episode, Ruxie says to Camilla, your daughter was the one who showed us to the loo through that entrance. I don't know what production didn't show us here, because I'm like, anyway, Camilla finds them in this part of the house. She's like, what are you guys doing here? Why are you guys in my home like this? I told you that I don't want people like wandering off into parts of my home. I'm uncomfortable with that. I'll invite you into my space. So she leads them outside. She ushers them outside. They're out there. As she's saying this, Tato goes boom. Camilla's like, I don't know if with alcohol. I don't know if there's alcohol involved in this moment right now, but this girl has just lost her fucking marbles with me. She literally, Roxy dismissed the fuck out of Camilla, just walked the fuck away. Like, Roxy, like, Camilla, I don't have time for this. I told you I was just going to the loo. If that's what you want to do, like, bye, girl. But Tato took it there. Tato even fell and continued to tell Camilla that I was and I was like, yeah, girl. That's that Chardonnay talk. I know Chardonnay talk when I see yeah. Hey, girl. Goes off at this poor white lady. Here we have Loveline and the tag along Lou, who's now in the intro, arriving. Loveline looks the absolute fool. She's wearing an outfit. I suppose she was trying to stick to from what I understand, vintage is what? Anything that's 20 years before, like anything 20 years old counts as vintage at this point, right? Like, aren't like kids born in 2000 like 20 or 21 or whatever the fuck they are? So anything like, you could have even put on like sort of a 90s look and it would have still gone down as that. But I'm guessing this is vintage or a particular like Victorian, or like you're drawing on like the retro style of the 60s or the more disco look of the 70s, whatever. Loveline just looked the fool, just looked a hot mess. She had this baby doll look, cowboy thing. It looked more like a costume, like a Pocahontas type of, not even, I don't know what she was trying to do, but it didn't give. She arrives with this other woman and now Tato's going off. Tato is going off at Camilla. Somehow Camilla manages to like shut the situation down, and everybody they're traveling in her vintage cars. She has a vintage Merc and a vintage, is it a Rolls Royce that we saw in the first episode or something? And she's driving one of the vehicles and then she has a driver for the other. I would have loved this. I would have loved to travel in something different. You can ride in like a nice, like, you know, modern Merc any other day, like, but this would have been an experience, right? She's trying to curate an experience for these ladies and trying to bring them into her space and what it is that she enjoys, and she seems to have a love of older, finer things. So here we go. We then see what happened? Guys, I don't know. There are moments of, I told you guys, Beverly's condescending as fuck. When they're going into the like vehicles, respectively, Bev is like to Camilla, Camilla, is there aircon, honey? Like, bitch, just get in the ride. Like, shut up. But that was her. I don't know why that was funny. Please go back and watch it if you can. Just go back and listen to Bethany ask Camilla if there's aircon. I'm like, I can't deal with this white lady. As they're riding in the car, but Camilla is riding with Loveline and Lou and Beverly. So she's trying, they ask her what actually happened, because Loveline and Thinger and Lou found everything already. Like, Tato going off already meant Tato went off. And then Camilla's explaining to them what happened, you know. So in the other car we have Rishta at the front, Roxy and Tato, and they had just been together, the three of them. Rishta is such a non-motherfucking factor, and I don't know if it's the pregnancy. I don't believe in giving people one season and writing them off, so I would love to see her back again. I would just, people grow on you sometimes, but she's very blah. She's nice in the confessionals, or she's, take it easy. But anyway, they're riding, and Rixie brings up the fact that Loveline had sent her sister, her like Loveline sister, to the Magidi from the last episode. The ceremony she had to welcome her son back home from the mountain that Loveline snapped. She sent her sister to this event, or made her invite her sister. So her sister must have clocked Tato and Rushta talking to her about, is this really your friend if she's gonna snap your son's welcoming home ceremony as a man when he had left as a boy? And like, would you do this to her? So I think she peeped that, because Roxy says to the ladies that, oh, the sister came to me and she was like, oh, you need to be careful of people trying to insert themselves in your business and trying to make you and my sister fight and wada wada wada. And then she says in a confession to Roxy that I clocked it for what it was though. Like, this is clearly Loveline trying to get ahead of this thing, because she knows she was wrong in not showing up for me and my side and choosing to go to the socialite gathering instead. They have a pit stop. At the pit stop, Tato and Bev, who are in separate vehicles, link up because they're supposedly friends, and Beverly comes clean to Tato about what she had done in the previous episode, which was to sage Camilla's home, or so-called like to fend off evil spirits because the house looks so haunted and what have you, and she did so without Camilla's permission or knowledge. And Tato's like, why? Who does that? Like, why would you do anything like that? This is, however, Beverly's friend in Beverly's head, or according to the both of them, and she thinks this is safe with her. I'm just coming clean to her. Boy, little do she know. And then we see at the pit stop, Tato goes over to talk to Lou, the new girl, and she's like, oh, are you Loveline's friend? And Lou's immediately like, no, Tato, you know me. And Tato's like, girl, do I? And then she explains who she is, where they met before. So Tato's like, oh my god, you look like the transformation, you look so good, it's drastically different. And Lou explains that I was a lot bigger than I had just had a baby and blah blah blah. Roshta then says, what was wrong with the person if you don't recognize them? Tato is on 10 with everybody. And this moment, I caught that if Roshta had said something back after Tato made this comment, her fucking little ass was getting dragged too, like fucking Camilla. Roshta, and then Tato's like, no, I'm giving her, like in the most stern tone, where she could have just been like, she just looked very different to me. Also, Tato's usually, allegedly, almost always drunk, so her not recognizing a person would not, like, Lou, girl, don't feel nothing about it. She's probably drunk when you were made. That's what the fuck happened. Still love you, Tato girl, you're my girl. And then they get back into their vehicles, and then they ride off. They get to Grayton, and then Camilla's like, okay, we're gonna do it like the swingers do it. I have some keys in a dish, I don't know, and everybody's gonna pick their room keys. Everybody picks and picks and picks, and Rushta goes to pick, and there's no key there. Then she starts, I'm calling my husband to come get me. I cannot share a room. I get it for her. It seems like the pregnancy is taking a toll. She needs her space. She's going through it. At this time, Lou, who wasn't invited to this thing, is holding the keys like, bitch, didn't nobody even call you over here? Acting like, oh my god. And then she goes over to whisper something to Loveline, and then they end up deciding that, okay, because she's like a gate crasher essentially, the gate crasher should give a person who has already invited a key. And Rishta says in an interview, like, duh, you weren't even supposed to be here, like, beach, like. So yeah, do give me back the key. Camilla then pulls Tato aside to have a chat about, oh my god, I look like an elf from Lord of the Rings. Jesus, you guys see that? Good lord. Oh my god, now I can't even see it. Oh, now I'm giving you all ideas. Damn, he fucked up. Okay. Pulls Tato aside to have a conversation about what transpired. I'm guessing at this point Camilla is hoping everybody has cooled down enough. She's fucking delusional because Tato had wine at that fucking pit stop. And then Camilla is a centered, sensible person who tries to reason and be sensible, and Tato is not that. I totally understand what Tato's experiencing. Tato, for as long as the season has started, has been the cause of concern, or the concern for the entire group, and we're so worried about Tato. So she's feeling like she's become this target for everybody to really, to a degree, deflect off of anything that may be the matter with them and their situations. This is called Real Housewives. We don't know the first thing really about these people's unions except for Tato's. And Rooksy, because she volunteered information in an effort to get Tato to feel comfortable, right? But we don't know this person whom she's talking about. So at this point, I feel like Tato's feeling exhausted and taxed. Like, why is it always on me? Why are y'all trying to... She's feeling cornered. She's really feeling backed up into a corner. And I think she lacks certain skills, like problem-solving skills. And then there's the alcohol possibly involved at this moment. So her reasoning capacity, you know, I mean, my girl does say though that she has honors and she uses metaphors on a daily. But that's not the point. Camilla tries to sincerely apologizes, and for a while Tato doesn't, and she's like, Tato, do you hear that I'm apologizing? Says the same to Rixie, who's now come to join them. Rixie has her shoes off. I like that. I like to see realness. Like, us ladies don't stay in our heels for long. They're nice for pictures and stuff, like that Jimmy Choo heel. That heel looks fucking unbearable. So I like to see that, like, I liked it. I don't know why, but I like realness, right? And they sit down, they talk about it, and she apologizes to both of them, and she asks Tato to apologize for the language she used. And Tato eventually starts to come around to what she's saying, and she owns her shit. But in owning her shit and trying to get herself out the shit, she then essentially throws Beverly under the fucking bus. Says to Camilla, you need to be worried about those two over there. Loveline and Beverly are standing on a patio somewhere talking. I am telling you, if I don't use that conversation that Loveline and Beverly were having for a real somebody else's house too, it is gold. Loveline. Beverly talking about how I'm so scared. I've got an Uber on speed dial. Loveline. You better, Chomi. You better. You better. Are you scared now? Loveline is... But I understand. Loveline didn't say to go burn this woman's... that sage, from what I understand, was to burn in the home with her consent while they were having a sleepover, because they were under the assumption that the sleepover was supposed to be at her home. Not what she did. So her talking about how I'm gonna take you down with me, and Loveline talking about, no girl, you ain't going down with me. You ain't doing all that. Like, grow some balls. Like, I was not part of this. I can respect that. So, and then Camilla gets her theater hair. Oh, so that's what I was smelling. I thought I smelled something when I walked back into my living room. Okay, beige curtains. Like, calm down. And then Loveline comes over. Guys, I can't say I know what happened here. Loveline came over to where Camilla and Tato and Rixie are sitting to ask, are y'all done with your little thing so we can get like comments with, like, you know, the events of the day or the evening at this point? Are you guys, is this all sorted? My girl Tato, no, if we feel like we want to like bring it up later on, then we can. That's my girl Tato, right? Because I understand what she's saying. Like, sometimes in the moment something makes sense, and then when you're in the shower something happens, you're like, no, Mara Camila, what does she mean by that? Happens, and Tato's trying to leave room for that. Loveline, no, just let it go. We've been doing this the whole day. Did Tato not lose? Tato fought with almost everyone this episode except for her new home girl Rixie. Her and Rooksy make a good duo. I love them together. I don't care. Okay. She gets into Loveline, just decides that this is not worth it. And usually when somebody does that, it's when you can smell the alcohol involved, where you're like, I'm not even arguing with this person, I'm arguing with the substance, so I'm just gonna let it go. And Loveline decides to let the whole thing just Tato blow up. And because Tato then proceeds to say, when you had your argument with your friend Rixie, I didn't. She meant to say insert, but she said insinuate myself, which is classic Tato. If Tato doesn't get t-shirts made in these things that she says that are clearly just not the best English, but that's not important to me, at least. I'm sorry, I understand what she's trying to say. Like, I'm sorry. If she doesn't get like a range of teas made, I want a shirt that says, I know I've honors, I use metaphors on a daily basis. I want that. Okay. Anyway, she then leaves. Tato yells at Loveline, guys. She tears into her for no reason. And then she leaves. Loveline is standing there like, you know what, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not. And also that outfit that Loveline is wearing makes her look more foolish. So that's not helping. And then they gather for dinner. Everybody looks beautiful for dinner. I love Rixie's fit. I love all the buttons and I have a blazer similar to that Loveline was wearing, actually, that one of my friends is trying to jag. You need to bring my shit back, bitch. Hey girl, hey. Obo say anyway, they're at the dinner, and at the dinner, oh god, let me go back. There's so much happening in this episode. At that scene where Tato leaves, Rixie sits with, because Rixie was still sat there. Rixie then says to Loveline, Tato just told Camilla about Beverly saging her home without her permission. Now Tata's like, I gotta go warn this bitch. Like, this girl just threw her, a so-called friend just threw her under the bus. She tells her, and when they're at dinner, Camilla, by the way, guys, is not staying at the Lady Grace with these ladies. She's staying at her her holiday home that she owns in Grayton by herself, and she says she'll host the ladies for breakfast. What these girls said about this woman's home must have really affected her for her to feel like she can't invite them into her space like that. Anyway, all the Lady Grayton is sponsoring this for sponsorship purposes and advertising. How many times have I said that on here? The Lady Grace. How many times? That's how the fuck it works, people. Anyway, she says, okay, now they're at dinner, and then Camilla's not there yet. So it comes up, and Beverly's like, I can't believe you threw me under the bus. You told Camilla about whatever. Guys, sometimes I'm like, because the level of what I felt was gaslighting that Rooksy and Tato did to Camilla about going into a home and acting like they had just gone to pee, is what I felt happened here. You did throw her under the bus to make matters a lot lighter on you. That said, I understand what Tato's saying. Tato's saying, because of everything that's transpired, because Loveline said this woman's house looks haunted and like a museum, and because after you had left, she smelled something that she did not recognize in her home, this lady was already on guard. And as a result, I feel like I caught the flack for everything that everybody before me had done. And that was not on me. So I chose to let her in on what happened so as to have her direct her anger at the right people. But that is still you throwing your friend under the bus. Your so-called friend anyway, whom in the confessional you call a hoe, a snake, and a gold digger. That's pretty much, yeah, they go at it. They go at it, Beverly and Tato, and Beverly's like, oh, you're so selfish. You, like, essentially betrayed me. How could you throw me under the bus like that? And Tato's like, well, she already knew. Her new bestie, Rixie, backing her up, talking about how, yeah, she knew. No. She knew there was something off, right? She'd never have placed it if nobody said anything. I mean, there's footage. She would have seen it eventually. But that's pretty much what Camilla then walks in. She's like, what's going on here? And she tries to, you know, simmer things down and get everything to calm down because she so badly wants this weekend to be perfect. That's It reminds me of Dorinda of Real Housewives of New York talking about, I made it nice. You know, when you put in a lot of effort into making something enjoyable and experience memorable, you will put a lot of things on the back burner. Her and Beverly can go home and discuss this. It doesn't have to be on their trip out there. They can choose to. She has the capacity to bench this and deal with it later and enjoy Grayton for what it is. I don't know what that is. And that's what she would rather do. But everybody else is in the, I mean, Tato went at Beverly, and then Beverly says to Camilla, okay, well, because Camilla's like, what is happening? She walks in mid-argument. And then at some point, Beverly's like, yeah, I heard a little bird came and told you this and this. Now Tato's mad at being called a bird. You're calling me an animal. You are calling me. And then in her confessional, Champagne at only a gold digger. Because Beverly's like, it's a metaphor. I don't want to say your name. I've got honors. I am from university. I know what a metaphor is. I use a metaphor on a daily basis. Only a bird, only a gold digger would not know that a bird is an animal. Bye, Ella.